the Lord is able to use a person, use their gifts.
To the Father, the Son, and Holy Spirit, the God who is, who was, and is to come, all praise and glory forever.
Hi, my name is Father Angelus. I'm a Benedictine monk from St. Andrew's Abbey. I entered the community in 2011, in March. Just before entering St. Andrew's as a monk, I was a music director at a Catholic church in Los Angeles. I was also in charge of liturgy. So gradually, I think the Lord was moving me a little bit closer to where He wanted me. There are a lot of different vocational calls, some which are very specific and others which are seemingly more general. Mine was very specific. It was very much to the monastic vocation, and it was very much to this specific monastery. This was something that came through prayer, and then later through my spiritual director, you get those kind of confirmations. So the place itself, the desert, the high desert, that's always been something that has appealed to me, that kind of environment. So I love the kind of quiet majesty of the setting, and so that's something that has always drawn me. So in that way, I think there's something to be said about the physical landscape that appealed to me about this place too, in addition to the monks that I had met. I didn't have doubts in so far as what I doubted about God's will for me. That had been made very clear that He wanted that for me. So my doubts were more along the lines of, could I fulfill that call somehow? Even there is an error in that thinking because it's about my strength doing it. But I think that's kind of how we begin. This life hopefully affords us that experience of knowing that after a while it's really our very weakness that allows God's power to shine through and help us in that call that He gave us. So the doubts weren't about what I had prayed about in my heart or how God had spoken to me about being a monk. The doubts were whether I would be able to fulfill that. Because along with that come all of these feelings of unworthiness and different kind of doubts that can creep in, like any serious commitment. And that's why the Church in her wisdom gives people time to pray with that, to experience the life, and to have those confirmations be shown the person as they progress. Monastic life, for me, here at St. Andrew's can be extremely rewarding. It can also be extremely challenging. In a weird way, the challenge is part of the reward, because God is constantly growing us and constantly challenging us. I think one of the most rewarding things for me personally might be that the Lord is able to use a person, despite their history, despite their lacks and all of the things that they're still missing in their lives, and use their gifts to bring so many things to people. In my case, as a priest monk, the sacraments, but also spiritual direction, counseling, being able to go and bless a house, for instance, from time to time, an occasional mission related work. These things are all very rewarding because you can see the change in a person, and you can see that God's grace was what brought that about, and that you were that instrumental part of that equation. So it's very humbling to see how God can use just an ordinary person to bring about an extraordinary thing. I would say, first and foremost, always begin and end everything about your discernment with prayer, and not to do that on your own per se, but to be guided by someone. in that, preferably someone who has experience in that subject. But really, in the end, it boils down to discerning what it is that God is asking of us. And if God has invited a man or a woman to enter into religious life, then that's something that really needs to be prayed about and considered, because it's not something that the person is imagining. It's not something that they're feeling forced into necessarily. Those things have to be weeded out, because sometimes people do come for the wrong reasons, but those people won't make it. It has to be a call. So I would say, sense that in you, and really be honest. Am I being called? And if I am being called, then how will I meet my Maker on that day? Will I meet my Maker and say, I heard your call and I responded? Or, I heard your call, but I was afraid. It's okay to be afraid. It's okay to have doubts. It's okay to even distrust our own selves. But in my view, it's not okay to not follow the will of the Lord, especially if he makes it clear to us, through our prayer, through spiritual direction, through people in our lives who will confirm these things. Yes, I see this about you, or I can imagine why this would be a good idea. So there are a number of ways that God speaks to us, confirming these steps along the way. But I think in the end, it's a matter of the heart. It's something that you know or you don't know. And if you know it, then just, take a deep breath, courage, and move in that direction.